Asteroid of fear.
Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. And it is Unfiltered Friday. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Because my Zoom settings got all wonky. Now I'm trying to adjust them. There we go. Audio, perfect. Yeah, that alarmed me. When I hit record, it didn't come through my headphones. Because I did this meeting, this paid meeting thing for money, for the mullah. And when I did, now I'm having to check if I record again. They had me change some Zoom settings. And I was in a different setup. I wasn't sitting here. I was at my desk. And yes, they had me change some settings. And I knew it was going to impact it. And then I decided to use headphones so I wouldn't have to use these bigger ones. And my mic, I used the old school Apple ones and just plugged them straight in the computer. Then I had to change the audio settings so it'd come through there. And yeah, so we got a little alarm there. But no mass, no fluff, just truth, being truthful. Behind the scenes, what's going on in the mind of a podcaster when we hit record. It's usually like, going back, did I hit record? And for those of you watching, all the watchers, you may not notice the camera is slightly in. I just didn't like the look for whatever reason. I have some tape marks where I put my stand, and I don't know. I just needed to bring it a slight bit closer. So if you're looking, you might notice it. And if you are noticing, you might notice I just got out of the shower, got a little business in the front, party in the back. Humid out here in Texas. The curls are curls for the girls, and they're fluffing up. Yeah, so another week. But this week has been quite different for many reasons. So our middle daughter um, turned 21 on the 28th, and normally we celebrate her birthday and go out of town and do this whole thing on Memorial Day. And it usually coincides with Memorial Day weekend. But as you guys know, Memorial Day fell awkwardly, wonky. So, yeah, it's kind of like Easter does it sometimes too. But, with the wonkiness, it put us at having to take like different trips for things, like multiple trips, because we went down there for Easter. And then I feel like we were just down there 2 weeks ago. Oh, yeah, visiting. Yeah, family came in from a cruise, Michigan family. And so, yeah, we went down there for that. I did forget about that. Also, if you notice, I'm checking out, I'm starting to get the farmer's tan on the ankles, little sock line. Yeah, reminds me of a little Chihuahua I had when I was a kid. It was a little brown Chihuahua with 4 white feet. And so we named them Gloves. And so I was thinking about calling my feet was Gloves. Kind of what they're starting to look like. But anywho, let's get this shit bucket on the road. That was a joke. And speaking of jokes and words, shit bucket. You know, I wasn't 100% positive what I was going to talk about, so I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, throw me a few ideas for Unfiltered Friday." And believe it or not, it came up with some relevant shit. And the first relevant shit is stuff we say to ourselves that we would never say to a friend. For instance, calling my podcast a shit bucket. Nah, it's just a frame of reference, a term of endearment, but in a good way. However, it's something you don't want to do on a regular basis. Um, yeah, men, we can be pretty brutal with the self-talk and normalize it. And wow, where where is the where's too much? I don't know. That's a it's a hard question. I don't know if it's generational. I don't know. Yeah, speaking of which, I participated in this study. It was kind of a behavior study, and so it had a cross section of different genders, different ages, and I kind of knew that's what this was. And so while they were studying me, I'm kind of just looking, making mental notes, and myself being a Gen Xer, having been in the military, yeah, being yelled at is just part of the game. Working in kitchens, kind of the same way. Um, but I feel like as time has progressed and gone on, that things that used to be, I guess, kind of normal are all of a sudden offensive, or people take offense to everything. I mean, if you take offense to everything, then nothing becomes offensive. If you cry over everything, um, and your tears lose their value. So, I mean, for instance, I mean, in boot camp, yeah, but it's a game. And I think sometimes that kind of carries over into, I think there's motivational versus destructive. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's sometimes it's like, dude, stop being a bitch. Yeah, I'll say that to myself. Is that destructive towards me? No. Is that what they would probably say in boot camp? Yeah, you know, whatever the case may be. And I think the important thing here is, where do you draw the line at where is it helpful versus where is it destructive? I think there's things I probably wouldn't intentionally. For me, self-worth is a big thing. So anything that kind of attacks my self-worth towards myself, I try not to do. A good rule of thumb is like if I wouldn't tell it to my daughter, I try not to tell it to myself. Minus, like I said, there's times when you're in the weight room, or maybe you didn't make it to the weight room yet. You're laying in bed debating it, and then you break out hey, stop being a bitch, get to the gym. So yeah, I think it's important to find that line for yourself. Um, but things, like I said, things that are related to your self-worth, if you are going to use that technique, I would probably steer clear of that kind of stuff. But if it's something you can change, I'm gonna trigger the world right now. I'm gonna use the word fat. If I call myself fat, um, can change that. And maybe using that term motivates me to change it. I feel like we've gotten to this place that, you know, at some point in time, the words are the problem. Then, if it's not the words, it's how the person said it, it's the delivery. Um, this whole wokeness thing has gotten so out of hand that people don't want to hear the truth. Yeah, the truth hurts. There's sometimes, um, for instance, this is a good one. This happened to me after the gym. I'll spit some facts. Man, and it's going to sound so ridiculous, but I, uh, I got out of the gym. I needed some water. Through the Sonic app, I was like, I'm going to grab some ice water. I'm going to grab some, I'm going to grab me a Sprite Zero. I like to add a little blue coconut flavor and a little sweet cream. Comes in at 95 calories. Can withstand it after the workout. So I order it through the app, pull in, do my thing, order the water, the Sprite Zero with the blue coconut. The guy delivers it, and he's like, I think the Sprite Zero is the other. And I was kind of confused, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it was almost like my brain exploded. Like, initially, even this thought here, I was like, wait, one is supposed to be blue. Why? Like, I couldn't put it together. And then I'm like, looking, I'm like, this is all happening so fast. And I look at the receipt, and I was like, nah, man. I was like, I think this is supposed to have, I ordered blue coconut, because it's like the ocean water. Uh, you're basically, because they don't allow you to, under ocean water in the app, you can't just swap out the Sprite for Zero. I don't know why. So you got to order Sprite Zero, add blue coconut, and then I like to add a little sweet cream. But I was initially kind of like irritated with the guy, and he's new, and he's like, all this stuff. Like, yeah, maybe the receipt, like, it looks like it could have skipped the line. I don't know. But my frustration level rose rather quickly. And then I'm trying to look at the receipt and look at the details through the app. And I think in the end, what I figured out was, yeah, through the app, it like pops up like, oh, half price this, like a drink or a slush. So I'm like, okay. But it automatically brings up as a small. And I think I added the blue coconut and the sweet cream. And when I went back and changed it to a medium, it doesn't carry over the blue coconut and sweet cream. Um, and so you hit update bag, it threw that off. And so I ended up with, it was my fault. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the end, it was my fault. And I was fucking pissed over something so small. Why? You know, that's what I had to try and figure out. And then I was starving because I hadn't eaten a lot today. And I was going to grab something near. And my wife was like, well, I bought these tacos and they were kind of spicy. I'll leave them at your dad's because I had to go uh, grab a couple of bottles of Everclear for this guy who wants to make moonshine. Um, our friend David, he doesn't drive. And She's like, oh, well, there's some tacos left at your dad's. I'll leave them there. And I'm like, perfect. As this is going on, like, I'm going to have my ocean water, some tacos, and it's good tacos from a place I like. Um, and it's real food. Yeah, can't beat that. Whole food. So the blue coconut incident happens, irritated, pissed at myself, deliver the Everclear. And the tacos were too spicy. I don't know what meat she ordered, but she didn't order. When I go there, you get 4 tacos. I get 2 pastor and 2 barbacoa. I don't know what she got, but whatever she got was too fucking hot. And, so it was like, and I knew I had to record. I was like, oh, I'm going to gym, do all this stuff, and then I'm going to record. It's going to be grand. And then, oh, it was just like, mother effer. First this. Now I'm not even fucking hungry. Now I don't even want to record. Then the tacos. Oh, now I'm really fucking spinning out. Yeah, spinning out like don't even want to go out of town. Don't want to do anything. He kind of like a fuck at all over a drink, over making a mistake, over not paying attention. I didn't catch it. So yeah, 100% upset with myself. And then another part of me was like, well, like I told my wife, I was like, but I'm starving. I was going to get this. And I should have just got that. So then I get pissed that I didn't trust myself. And this happens to me quite a bit. Sometimes things will happen or people will happen. And initially, it could come across like I'm irritated at the situation or the person. But oftentimes, I'm actually irritated with myself because A, I didn't pay attention, I didn't update, I missed it. I mean, that's military 101, attention to detail. Fucking pay attention, Richard. And then the second thing is there's times like I know I should just trust myself, not listen to other people, or I go along to get along, or something like that. And then it fucking goes awry, doesn't go as planned, and I'm pissed off at myself for not trusting myself. Do any of you guys get like that? Maybe is this just that reminder every once in a while that you need one? Like, dude, just fucking trust your gut. Like, block everything and everyone else the fuck out. You know when I'm on the mission and I'm dialed in, laser focused, like everything else and everyone else is just noise. Just trust yourself. And I don't know, my last coaching session, um, you know, I know I told you guys, hey, this summer it's dedicated to podcasting, family, and money, earning money. And I don't know the redesign to that, getting that done, and then perhaps like I don't know what this little Universe Sprite Zero fuck up was, what the reminder was for. Um, Man, I felt a bit bipolar for a moment. I'm not making light of anyone with bipolar, so don't get fucking offended. Okay? I'm not wearing out mitts or put any on. Fucking kid gloves. If you're listening to this, you should be an adult. You should be able to fucking handle the truth, even if it hurts. And if it hurts, then you need to fucking change it. Yeah. Like myself, getting fucking spun up, not trusting myself. That's what it's for. God, give me some uh, talking points for the podcast. Oh no, he did. I'm gonna allow you to fuck up your own order, get irritated with a new guy. I didn't really. It just at some point I was like, I think I just kind of was like, you can go. Like he was like, well, if you need anything, you can press the. Oh, you don't have a button because Sonic changed their. Not all of them have the menu button now. Now some of them are strictly drive up stalls, which is cool. I'm okay with that. But yeah, where else? Where else did the old Chat GPT take us? Why are so many men to admit? Why are so many men afraid to admit they're tired? Unpack the fear around burnout, rest, and appearing weak. Oh yeah, grind mindset, masking insecurity and avoidance. Oh, reframing rest as a form of self struggle. I mean, as a form of discipline, not laziness. Yeah, that I can get behind. I kind of like this. A lot of that's going on. Um, in 2025, not only are we fucking offended by everything, but um, it's it's the grind side hustle culture. I don't have a side hustle. I just do odd jobs. Yeah, that is the job, the side hustle. Just jobs, you know? There's this comedian, he does this really cool bit about Southerners and sweet tea versus unsweetened tea. He's like, you know, when you go to the South and you order a tea, it's like sweet or unsweet. He's like, well, in tea, if sweet tea is sweet tea, then tea is unsweetened. Why are we adding how many syllables is that? Unsweetened. Adding more syllables and lengthening the word. Um, yeah, I don't know where the fuck I was going with that. Um, was it the offense? Everybody being offended, or everybody got a side hustle? Oh yeah, maybe it was around the wording of side hustles and grind culture. But you do see a lot of that now, and um, hmm, it's interesting. I remember having a conversation with Prosecco Queen. Go check her out. Go check out our conversation. It was a great one. I really enjoyed talking to her. But, we're kind of in that same age group, and, she's talking about being from New York and I'm in Texas, but generally people in the world were doing the same things. Like we didn't have internet, we didn't have like to know like, hey, this is what they're doing over here. But we were still kind of all doing the same stuff. And so it's like, is this grind hustle culture type thing, is it because of the internet? Or is this just what the world is right now? What everybody's doing? And I can specifically kind of relate to this, you know, in terms of my coach. And, you know, I don't want to categorize him with, because when I think of like some of it's negative to me. Um, but I know, like for him, he would admit that he needs to, he's very schedule oriented though, but he will like kind of schedule fuck off time, I guess you could call it. R&R, relaxation, because he always feels like he has to be doing something because he has a lot of clients and there's always something he could be doing. He's an entrepreneur, business owner. And so a lot of people can relate to that. And it is true. There is something you can always be doing. But what I love on the duality and of like my business coach and his partner is Kevo is really big on the R&R. He loves it. But he also he grinds, but he kind of doesn't like he's not like I wouldn't say vocal about it. His actions show his grind. But he's vocal about liking his R&R. Where my coach is more like, you know, vocal about the grind stuff. And, you know, but I think it's important, with him, like he states, I mean, scientifically, rest is good. I mean, you need sleep. Like he prioritizes sleep. I think there's even, we have these WhatsApp groups and different things that I'm part of, like for book club. I have an accountability group. I'm part of a fitness group. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. How I lost my train of thought so quickly. Oh, he has a sleep group. Yes, for the Aura Ring. I wear the Whoop, specifically 2-track sleep. But it's scientifically proven that sleep is when your body and your brain rebuild, unload, make sense of. And while you don't want to sleep your life away, there is something when you wake up and you feel rested, when you didn't have to wake up to an alarm and you feel ready to go. And so, kind of prioritizing that and scheduling it, I think, is important. But you can. I like this whole thing, like where, like, you're going to appear weak if you're tired. No, actually, probably if you're really grinding, you should be tired because you're putting out max effort in all areas of your life. So, yeah, I don't know, but it is interesting. Interesting thing to unpack. That whole kind of, I'm good, I'll push through it. But I think a lot of that too is kind of it's a men thing. I mean, if you ask me at mile 23 of the Bataan Death March how I'm doing, I'm gonna say fine. doesn't mean I'm actually fine. Absolutely not. But what's the point of complaining about it? In terms of others, I don't know that, you know, is the grind set masking insecurity or avoidance? I think in today's age, more so, I don't know about avoidance. Everything is really about how it looks to people, how it sounds. I have a hard time believing many things because the internet is so full of shit. People are so full of shit. Trying to sell anything and everything. If you want to do anything, somebody's probably written an ebook on it. You can get it by clicking here or using this DM keyword. I fucking hate that. It's kind of tacky, but it's kind of the way. It's just the thing. What else are you supposed to say? DM me for this. I mean, you DM me for the information, but oh, fuck. Even my wife, we have this running joke. So one of the clients that I wasn't gonna let him fucking talk to me like that, and my wife still cares for him, and he calls me Frank. So he's in the process of moving far away, and my wife has been driving him. My wife has been going way the fuck above and beyond anything of what she's paid to do for the little amount through the healthcare company. But he wants to go from independent to assisted living. He actually needs to. And people are just so shitty. Like APS, like because he doesn't want to go to wherever. I mean, he's 80 something years old. He's had three strokes. He was like a he's a retired burglary detective. I mean, no doubt he was an asshole and kind of is.
Hey guys, quick break, but this one's important. If you're tired of setting goals that never leave the Notes app, or you're feeling stuck in the same cycle, let's change that. Accountability isn't about pressure, it's about partnership. I offer one on one accountability coaching for those who are ready to show up, not just for their goals, but for themselves, their families, and their purpose. Whether you're working on discipline, building better habits, or simply trying to stay consistent, I got you. No fluff, no judgment, just real conversations and real progress. If that sounds like something you need, hit the link in the show notes and let's connect. All right, back to the episode.
But he's still a human being. He still fucking needs help. If he could fucking do it himself, he would. So, we're going through this whole process and you know, it's like we're going out of town and he's trying to get out of there by the first, and we're not going to be back from out of town. And so we're not going to be able to do it. And so I'm calling moving companies and all this stuff. And about the cheapest price we got was $500. My wife's like, well, we could do it. And I was like, no, look, just for us to move our shit from 3.5 months at Bucks to here, it was about $100. And that was like, you know, 30 minutes away, maybe round trip. And like kind of in town, you would say. But this is going like 45 minutes away. It's a distance. It's a hike. And so I told her, I was like, it would actually cost him more if we did it because if we charged him and then he has to pay for the truck and he doesn't have cards, all this stuff, it's like because he shut down his bank account because he's crazy. I mean, yeah, he actually had a bank because his retirement has to go somewhere. But yeah, so anyway, we give him the price and like this is the cheapest, $4.99. I mean, some people are charging like 125 flat fee for a trip, 175 an hour. The second one was 159 an hour. I'm like, this is like a 300 square foot room, maybe. It's just a bed and a recliner and a dresser, a few totes. But the way he talks, because he's had the stroke and he gets all pissed off and he's like, motherfucker, they're trying to rip me off. And my wife told me, and I said, tell him just fucking use the code Frank at checkout in all caps. Yeah. 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 Everything's full of shit. It's like nothing is ever what it is. It's like U-Haul. You know, when we had to move our shit from Bucks, my wife sees we got to get a U-Haul truck to move our stuff. We can just do it all at one time. Look, 19.99 in town. Well, I just fucking told you it was $100. Just like when I looked today. Well, it's this price. Well, by the time you go through 10 screens and they've tried to sell you everything from insurance to packing tape, um, it's not that price, you know? But it's like this little dance we're doing on the interwebs here with everybody's putting their the most glamorous foot forward and uh and you know here's 10 fucking hoops for you to jump through, and at the end of the 10 hoops there's not even anything of value. And this is kind of what, this is how I explain to, let's say, my wife or other people. um Somebody's trying to sell you something on, even if they give it away and you pay shipping and handling or something, or you pay $5 for it and it's garbage. If you had to return it, it would cost you more. They rely on you saying, or they make it such a pain in the ass to get your money back that people just say, fuck it. And it's not just the small amounts, some are mediocre amounts. But it's this whole thing is you click on it, it seems interesting. Oh, I $5 or $10, and oh, okay, I'll pay 5.95 for shipping and handling, and then, but yeah, it's all masked through a glamour shot and some DM me this or this to get your ass started on the fucking path to fucking where we're all gonna end up. Nowhere. Dead. Boy, yeah. You can see I'm a little fired up. I just wish everything kind of was what it was. Um, what you see is what you got. Mm, yeah, that's probably too why we'll go into. I just listened to, that was kind of something I definitely wanted to talk about, was I just listened to the Sean Ryan show interviewed Dave Mustaine, um, For you guys who don't know, Dave Mustaine is the founder and singer guitarist for Megadeth. He was also a guitarist for Metallica before Kirk Hammett. But Sean Ryan Show, Dave Mustaine, great interview. And we'll talk about why I loved it a little bit after. But, he was kind of talking about, I think Sean asked him something, the whole Diddy thing came up, and it was kind of this whole, like, what would you tell kids who feel this or that, or kids looking to go into music business, or, they just talk about how the scene was so gross in the 80s and 90s. Now it's down to almost like podcasting and independence. And you got Kyle Smith, this independent musician. Everything's changed so much that that grossness doesn't have to go on. You don't have to have Harvey Weinstein and people, and the internet is kind of like this equivalent to that now. It's like you, they're, yeah, but these people are going to be there whether there's the internet or not. They were there before the internet. They're going to be there after the internet. They're going to be there on the next unforeseen way to fucking take advantage of you. And I'm just sick of it and fed up. I like the connectivity part. Um, I use social media more of inspiration. But I feel like I follow people, but people that add value, I would say. However, yeah, there's always suggested shit. Or you look at one thing that's, I don't know. It's like having a bad thought. Only you can kind of suppress or forget a bad thought. The problem with the interwebs, or like, where they talk about, hey, your phone heard you talking about MacBooks, and now all of a sudden you're getting advertisements for MacBooks. That kind of whole thing. So anyway, but it kind of makes me, I think I almost had a point today where I was almost like, fuck social media. I deactivated all, but in this kind of, this is the way now. You almost have to participate. And so you have to be around hucksters and bullshitters. It just gets old. That's all I'm saying. But on to the Dave Mustaine interview. What I loved about it was, one, I can remember getting Master of Puppets on cassette. And then being introduced to Megadeth, because at that time I liked to play guitar. I was not good at all. And there was a guy who was actually pretty good, and he loved Metallica and Megadeth. And I was a little small person, and there was this guy, he had a small short bass, and I bought that, and he taught me, I think we would play in My Darkest Hour for Megadeth, The Four Horsemen, Off Kill 'Em All, which I love those songs. So yeah, I was super stoked to get to hear that interview. But it kind of leads into the next part of why do I love the Sean Ryan show? And that is because he has a variety of guests. I mean, he was a Navy SEAL CIA contractor. He has that background. So he naturally does talk to a lot of people in those communities. However, he does talk to all kinds of other people, and I appreciate that. Hackers. Um, I think he might have had James Maynard Keenan from Tool on, I want to say. But yeah, so that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is the format. I mean, I've been listening to his show since it launched, and kind of similarly, um, I like to do that kind of biographical life story because, you know, I think it's important to see how, whether somebody grew up, their family dynamics, religious backgrounds, how that plays into their decisions and how they got to where they are. Um, and so, yeah, I love the format. I love the long form interviews. Him, Mike Ritland, probably say like Joe Rogan, Mike Drop, Sean Ryan. Definitely three of the long form that I love to listen to the most. Um, Joe Rogan's got kind of more of a conversational style, as does, but like with Mike Drop and Sean Ryan, they, it's interview-esque and structured with conversation, which is what I like. Some structure to find out the gist. Um, like I said, I like to have an outline, but I also love for the conversation to go wherever it goes. But it was interesting to hear that Dave Mustaine had relocated to Tennessee and is now making wine. And, because growing up in that time, I mean, man, to be a rock star was like this thing. And it was so cool when he was like, well, reality check. I didn't think I could be a play in the major leagues. I was pretty good. He's like, Sean Ryan's like, oh, but you thought you could be a rock star. It's like, kind of what are the chances of either little kids dreaming? I mean, and the realities. And so, perhaps, but he's definitely probably a better rock star. How many years would he have gotten out of baseball? One, and then two, music just kind of transcends time and culture and language. So, yeah, it was just super cool. You know, like I said, I can remember being in junior high, learning Megadeth songs on the bass, and then to kind of get to hear about the person. Because at my age too, pre-internet, it's like you had this idea of these, whether they were Navy SEALs or rock stars, like, oh, they're these godlike people, these things that are out of reach. And, you come full circle and you start to see 30 years later and the stories you hear is no, they're people like you and I. They just have, whether it's some extraordinary talents, gifts, um, resilience, they have some character traits that got them through. Maybe it was even fate. I don't know if that's a character trait, but it's something. I think it's something to add into the equation for sure. But yeah, to see the humanness, but also to see that, be it Navy SEALs, musicians, anyone, that they're not all superheroes. Some of them are shit bags. some of them are bad people, you know, because it's kind of like this time, we're in this time where I feel like we've learned, like, hey, it's not just good enough to be, I feel like the 80s, 90s, like everything, like, oh, it was focused on this, that, or the other. I mean, now, like, what's required of men? Now you need to be present, you need to be vulnerable, you need to be open, um, you need to be present. Yeah, things have just evolved. The expectations are different. But I think it's, so it's cool to see the truth, you know, to see that, well, maybe this person is a good operator, but they're a shitty husband or shitty father. Like, no, the whole how things looked on the outside. Maybe Cosby, great example. That was a great, wholesome TV show. But what was he really doing? And that's kind of Hollywood bullshit, everything. Um, and so it's nice. I mean, to see you can see more truth nowadays. However, with AI and everything else, it's hey, you still got to sift through more shit. It's hard. It's certainly harder. Maybe it's easier to get to the truth because we have so much more technology and resources, yet it's still so fucking hard to find because of the amount of bullshit that's out there. It's just never fucking ending, is it? Is it? No. But you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. I'm out here trying to be part of the solution. And you, as a listener, I hope you are too. If you're listening, then you should be, because we're the same kind of people. I would hope. Ha, though I'm fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always just say I'm fine because sometimes if I said I wasn't fine, then you're going to ask why. And it's going to be, you may not be the person I want to have the conversation with, for one. Um, two, maybe I don't want to have it at all. And three, there are some days and stuff and moments I've had that if I told you what was really on my mind, um, it would probably alarm you and potentially call someone. So I'm fine. It'll have to suffice. Mm, yeah, we've talked a little bit about accountability, feeling like an attack, the truth hurting. Well, like I said, brotherhood doesn't coddle. It corrects with love. And you got to understand that too. Is I know, I know, I can be an a-hole, a dick. I can say some pretty mean and crass things. Um, but I know my intention. Um, my love I have for humanity and other people. That it's always from a place of love. But, coming from a military background, working in kitchens, emergency rooms, fast pace, it's hard. Sometimes we show love different ways, and the ER kind of like, if I don't pick at you, joke with you, then I probably don't like you. If I pick at you and joke with you, or, you know, make a little endearing comment, then it's probably because I like you. And that's kind of a cultural thing. I think it runs in all three of those fields and probably in more of the military as well. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't really know. But it's kind of like my family. It's not about that. It's when it matters, do the people show up in the way that they need to? That's love. I can say a lot of things. And I can be mean. But when I'm truly needed, let's say when I was a manager, did I show up? Could my team count on me? Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, it's the same way. I'm certain in the past episodes I've said off color things, and I'm sure I will in the future, but it does not mean I do not care. Um, and wouldn't offer help if I could. I always say I'm willing to help. If I can, I will. You know, it's my motto. But money, manhood, and the ego trip. Yeah, how financial status falsely tied to masculinity. When a man's worth is measured by his wallet, that kind of goes to that whole thing of, you know, you might be a good this or that. Maybe you're good at your job, CEO, but if you're never home, never with your children, kind of one of the things like Dave Mustaine said, about we've constructed our society in that now it's almost like required that you have a two-income household. And then what happens is now you're leaving nannies, babysitters, after school programs, and everything else to take the place of what the parents should be doing. But we fucking done it and made it to ourselves. Of course, the government's gonna encourage it because more income means more taxes. Yeah, we want double households fucking working. Damn Skippy. Gosh darn right. Yeah, down here in Texas. But what are we doing? You're gonna let somebody with all the shit that they've been led to believe and passed down and family traumas and all that. They're already there for 8 hours a day. And now you're gonna let them have them for 2 or 3 more hours after school. And you can have them what 2 hours before they go to bed and an hour in the morning, if that. I don't know what kind of kids you got, but and a whole lot of meaningful long form conversation going on at 6 in the morning. We're getting ready for school. So, but that really resonated with me. And, he understands that because he's a musician, which is kind of like an entrepreneur. You know, he doesn't have a 9 to 5, but he had talked about like he had hired like a nanny babysitter on tour, and they were in France, and the baby was crying and because he had a dirty diaper, and meaning that the nanny wasn't attentive enough to understand that. And he's like, "We fired her," like, and I changed the diaper. But it's that kind of whole like, now I need to be doing the shit for my kids. And I took my daughter to the dentist today, so it's kind of on brand. It's in this whole. I mean, I was talking to the dentist tech today. We were talking about, it came up like, what did I do? And or she said something about Uber, and I was like, oh, I do Uber. And so I had Uber and a podcast, and I used to manage clinics, and um, that being able to do stuff like take my daughter, because just because it's summer doesn't mean parents are got summer. They don't, because that's exactly what she said. She was like, "Oh, I know." She goes, "My 13-year-old and 9-year-old are at home. I didn't want to send them to camp because they just got out of school and we're about to go on a little vacation. I want to give them a break." And she goes, "And I have to pay." Um, and she said like the husband was saying something. She's like, "Well, he didn't get it because he don't take her." Like, it still means like you still got to get up, you still got to make a lunch. It's still like school, you know. And so was talking to her about that, and she's like, "Oh, this is my first full-time job." She's been a stay-at-home mom, um, or done part-time and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, like she wanted to be at home with her kids, but they're at an age where they have some independence, and she enjoyed it. She was very good at what she did, and you could tell, like talkative, a little, yeah, she was just good, energetic, some life experience." Um, Good with my daughter. Really, yeah, I enjoyed her. Didn't get her name, but um, if you're listening, I liked you. Thought you really resonated with me. Um, but yeah, but it's that whole concept that we've done this to ourselves, and we wonder why our children feel the way they do, have the problems they do, or we can say like, well, we did everything for them. We tried to do the best we could, and they're still going to make some decisions. But as a society, are we doing the best we can by making it to where we have to choose? We have to make these choices of like two family 9 to 5 thing, or like my wife and I mean, me doing whether it's paid studies, Ubering, a little this, a little that, caregiving. Um, you figure out a way figure out a way to make it work as to what's important to you. But I know from being laid off 5 years ago and having not gone back to corporate and deciding to do this was my choice for that reason. And I feel good about it because I feel other people out there, it's important to them too. And I hope as a society and a world, we start to see the importance of that. And as we figure out everything we're doing, whether it's bringing manufacturing and creating jobs and stuff and opportunity here in the US for people, um, that won't happen overnight. I mean, society changing won't either, but we can, as government changes, maybe something like that could change too. Figure out a way to make it where mom is home or mom is picking up the kid from school. Mom is home when the kid gets home from school. Or if the kid's going to have activities, the parent's taking them. Not some transit thing, not a babysitter, not the Boys and Girls Club. I don't know. For those of you who'd rather work and want nannies and everybody else to raise your children, then you can do that. America, freedom. You have that freedom. You know, some people will send their kids to boarding school. There's all kinds of things. But you do you. I'm not going to throw stones at that. I'm going to do me. Please don't throw any stones at me. I'm giving you my wife. You have yours. I'm not trying to convince you of mine. But, you know, while we're out there, we're learning from each other. And we can be respectful in doing so. And while we're out there doing that, remember to go out and be the person that you would want to meet.
Let's go. Asteroid of fear.